Well, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be back with the young, proud, and energetic patriots of Turning Point. And I want to thank all of the people that are here. This is one hell of a crowd. Student Action Summit. I've been doing this for a little while, and I always will. Charlie is something very special. He's a very special young guy. He's even younger than he looks, I'll tell you. You're the rising stars who are going to turn back the tide of American decline, and we are declining. We weren't declining 2 years ago, but we are now. You are the generation that is going to stand up and save American freedom. You are the grassroots leaders who are going to dislodge the socialists and communists, and they are indeed communists, and Marxists and globalists, and where the hell do all these people come from? And send the radical left back into political oblivion where they belong. You're going to send them back. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy summer for this incredible event, and I want to express my friendship and gratitude to Charlie Kirk for the extraordinary work that he has done to build Turning Point into a force like no other. Young people, and I'll tell you, young people, they love us, and we love you. They love us. They love our policy. You know what they love? They love common sense. That's what they love. It's about common sense. You have more than 3,000 chapters now of the smartest and bravest young conservatives in America. 3,000. Let me also recognize some of our distinguished guests, including we have Senator Mike Lee. Where's Mike Lee? Where is Mike? Oh, we love, just did a book, and it's a successful book. He's running against McMuffin. Do you know who McMuffin is? You know, wah, wah, wah. McMuffin, he ran against me, too. They said he was going to do great. He didn't come out too well. Even Hillary beat him. Remember that? He was going to win the state. He was going to win the great state. And he didn't do too well. Utah, that was going to be trouble. So Mike has to run against him, and I think that's going to be a quick one. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Where's Lauren? Where is Lauren? Where is she? Hi, Lauren. She's so great. She's a warrior, another warrior. Boy, we got these women are all warriors. What's going on, men? Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. They are friends of mine. They are great friends of mine. Hi, Marjorie. Now, how about the ads they made? They made ads that were so great. I didn't want anything to do with going into their home. Remember the ads they made? They were the greatest. Congressman Matt Gaetz, a great guy and a tough guy and our friend. Thank you, Matt. What a wonderful guy. Go out and vote for him, too, everybody. The next Congresswoman from Florida's 13th Congressional District, Anna Paulina Luna. And we have some incredible people. This one just wrote a book, I have to tell you. Nobody knows more about the world of the media, the press, the fake news, the legit news. We don't talk about that because there's so little of it. But his name is Ari Fleischer, and he's an incredible man. Where is Ari? Where is he? I wish we could see you. These lights, I don't know where the hell you are, Ari, but we love you and we respect you. Another man, I'll tell you, this is a man who's got the #1 show on evening television. He's #1 late night, and I hope he's getting the kind of money that the others are getting. They've got to start shelling out because he's #1. And I did an interview with him not so long ago, and it ended up being all 5 nights. He cut it up into all 5 nights. I said, that guy's smart. But he went to #1, and he is #1. He would say, look, whether you like him or not, he gets things done. That was the kind of reference he gave me. But you know what? I considered that a compliment. And he was right. And then now I think he actually does like me, and I really like him. And he's very talented. Greg Gutfeld. Greg, thank you. He is very talented. He's very talented, and he's a tremendous guy. That's a big deal for cable to be #1 over network television, the fakers over there. Another one who's got the #1 book out now, and he's a warrior. He's tough, he's strong. He fought for the rights of soldiers while I was president very much. He thought they were being treated very badly, and we took care of the situation for Pete Hegseth. Pete? Thanks, Pete. He's a great guy. And I heard my son Don did a great job, and Kimberly did a great job. And they're great people. Each of the young Americans here today is coming of age at a pivotal time in our nation's history. Like so many generations before you, you are the front lines of a momentous struggle that will determine the future of America. Together we are fighting to reclaim our republic from a failed and corrupt political establishment. Nobody knew how corrupt it was. I think I taught them. I'm so proud of that. You know, another thing happened today. The ratings, the approval ratings came out for the media. They hit an all-time historic low. You know, when I first ran for politics, I think it was something like approval rating 96%, and I think now they're around 12. They're actually lower than Congress. Can you believe that? So I'm extremely proud of that. And we're fighting to defeat an extreme radical left movement that wants to dictate your life options, decimate your rights, dominate your options, and deprive you of the American dream. You know what the American dream is? Keep dreaming, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It was happening very big 2 years ago, I can tell you. But your generation will not let them do what they want to do to you, which is bad, bad things. We're going to take back our liberty. We're going to take back our destiny. We're going to take back, very soon, our country. The difference between our movement and the forces we're fighting against could not be more stark. They believe in censorship, cancel culture, intolerance, and rigid conformity. We believe in free thought, free assembly, free expression, and a thing called free speech. The radical left wants global government, defunding the police, wide open borders. They want no voter ID. I wonder why they want no voter ID. I can't imagine. Could it be because they want to cheat in elections? No, that could never be. We want sovereignty, public safety, and strong, secure borders, and we respect law enforcement and the people that are involved in law enforcement. They fight for the interests of the Washington political class. We fight for the interests of the American working class, and also we fight for everyone. They live by the philosophy of always putting America last, and we fight for putting America first, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. They want young people to feel shame and contempt for our country and for our heritage. We believe there is no force that is greater or more righteous than the power of a thing called American pride. American pride. We have American pride. They believe in left-wing gender ideology and toxic critical race theory. We believe in two genders. There are men and there are women, two genders. And we believe that all Americans of every background are created free and equal by the hand of Almighty God. Let them say that. These are the principles we're fighting to defend each and every day. Over the past 2 years, the world has seen the radical left's agenda in action, and it's been very sad to watch. The results are worse than anyone could ever have even imagined. In just 2 short years, our country has gone from the strongest it has ever been, and perhaps it was just, I don't think it was ever like it was 2 years ago. We were so strong, so powerful, so respected all over the world. And now it's gone to perhaps the weakest, especially when you include recognition and respect from all around the world. We're not respected any longer by anybody. 2 years ago, we were energy independent, and even we were energy dominant. We were going to be bigger than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined ×2. Now we are a beggar nation. We are a beggar nation, with Biden down on his knees pleading for energy from all over the globe, going to Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, going to countries all over the globe asking for help. And we have more liquid gold under our feet than all of these other countries that you hear about and that they talk about all the time. We have more liquid gold than they do. Can you imagine this? Under our administration, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had the greatest economy. And we sort of had two economies. We had, prior to the plague coming in from China, the China virus. Let's call it the China. We have to be accurate. And that was an economy like no other. There's never been anything like it. African American, Hispanic American, Asian American women, men, degrees in MIT, and from the best from the Wharton School of Finance, from every great school, or no diploma whatsoever. Every single group was doing better historically ever than they ever did before. And then we had a second because we had to straighten things out. We got hit by the plague from China, from Wuhan. Remember, I see there's pins all over that Trump was right. I said it came from the lab in Wuhan a long time ago. That's where it came from. And we did a great job. Never really got recognized for the great job we did on that, but it was tough all over the world, whether it was Japan, a wonderful gentleman. Shinzo Abe, you know who Shinzo Abe is, just died so senselessly, died. He was a great friend of mine, but they took it they got hit hard. He built the most magnificent Olympic complex ever, and they had to have empty stadium, empty seats. After waiting for 3 years, they had to say, let's put it on and let's just leave it empty. So sad what happened to the world because of the virus that came in. But we did a great job, and when we gave it back, not very happily either, I will tell you, when that happened, you take a look at the numbers. The stock market was higher than it was pre-COVID. It was higher, it was stronger, people were doing very well, and then it's just been systematic destruction. And remember, there was a bounce, and the bounce lasted, but that bounce was from what we had done previously with the tax cuts and the regulation cuts. And then you look at what's happened right now, and it's very, very sad to watch. We had China in check, paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. Think of it. We were taking in hundreds of billions, not millions, billions of dollars from China with our tariffs and our taxes against them. Not one president has ever taken in literally 10 cents from China. We were taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and they were willing to do anything to get rid of that. And by the way, now, if you look at the Biden administration, I'm hearing they want to give up the taxes and tariffs that we're charging China. And if you do that, they will own us very quickly. We saved our steel industry. We saved so many different industries. But we took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we were making strides like never before. Nobody has ever seen strides like we made pre-COVID and did great after. But pre-COVID, our employment numbers, everything, and we did it with no inflation. We had no inflation. Under Biden, we have the highest inflation in 41 years, 9.1%. It's much higher than that, in my opinion. Costing families $6,000 per year, bigger than any tax increase ever proposed, other than the tax increase that they are now proposing. They want to charge you taxes to fund the Green New Disaster, commonly known as the Green New Deal, to destroy your country. We created the best, safest, and most secure border in U.S. history. We built hundreds of miles of border wall. In fact, we completely finished our original wall plan despite 2.5 years of Democrat-inspired lawsuits, and I won all of the lawsuits, 11 of them we won. So it took us 2.5 years because of their lawsuits, obstructionists. Then we added much more wall than originally planned, and we almost got that. Could have been done in 3 weeks, could have been completed. Much more wall than the original plan. The border was the best and safest in U.S. recorded history by far. And also, it was the best on drugs and best on human trafficking that we've seen in 44 years. And now they have turned it into the worst border in history, and maybe the worst for any country, even a third world country, because a third world country would never allow what's happening to us right now to happen. Even a third world country. Millions and millions of people are pouring into our country from jails. They're releasing their prison population into the United States of America. We're like a dumping ground, and you're paying the price, and you will in the future. Remember where they say Trump was right? Here's another real easy one. You will be paying for this very badly into the future. Very badly. It's going to be a terrible thing because people are coming into our country. We have no idea who they are, where they're from. Every day, the Democrats' open border agenda is getting innocent Americans killed. Recently, an illegal alien was sentenced for brutally stabbing to death a 33-year-old man at a hotel in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, viciously attacked. Last year, an illegal alien in Pennsylvania viciously murdered a 23-year-old woman with a knife. Wanted to do it that way because he said it was more painful, stabbing her repeatedly and throwing her body under a pile of trees in the woods. In April, an illegal alien in Georgia was arrested after allegedly going on a rampage of sexual assaults, attacking more than 20 different women and hurting them badly. And as everyone knows, just this month, an illegal alien criminal in Ohio was charged with repeatedly raping a 10-year-old girl. These are just a few of the tens of thousands of violent acts. We're talking tens of thousands of violent acts being perpetrated by these criminals who are pouring into our country. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. I believe the number is going to be 10 million, 12 million, 14, 15 million, not 4 million as they're talking about. We have no idea how many people are coming in. We have no idea from where they came. In our movement, we believe America should be a sanctuary for law-abiding citizens who love our country, not for criminal aliens. We rebuilt our military, including our nuclear capability and the creation of, and this is not since Air Force, almost 80 years ago, the creation of Space Force, a big deal. A big deal. And much of it is right here. Much of Space Force is right here. They surrendered our strength and what they've done in Afghanistan, most embarrassing, horrible moment in United States history. I believe that, too. I think it was the most humiliating time in history. And we were leaving. We were getting out. 21 years, I had it down to 2,000, but we were going to keep Bagram, a massive Air Force base that we spent billions and billions of dollars building many years ago. Not for Afghanistan. We were keeping it because it's 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. But they left Bagram. They left the lights on. They left the dogs there, by the way. They said they didn't, but they did. All the things I said, but they left Bagram. So now China is occupying Bagram Air Base. I want to tell you a quick little story because it's so depressing when you see something like Afghanistan where we left back $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful equipment, where we left American hostages behind, and where 13 soldiers were killed. 13, think of it. 13 soldiers were killed, but what they don't say is the many, many soldiers, a far bigger number than that, who lost their arms, their legs, their face, who were just, it should have never happened. In fact, I proudly say, and they confirmed that, 18 months, not one American soldier was killed in Afghanistan. And I spoke to the leader of the Taliban. I got a lot of bad stories because I did that by the fake news media, which is right back there. So there's a lot of them. Because I wanted that to stop, and I spoke, his name is Abdul. I said, Abdul, you're killing our people. And they were really killing a lot of people from the previous administration. I mean, they were shooting them so badly, snipers, shooting our people. And I said, Abdul, don't kill our people anymore. You kill our people anymore, you'll be hit harder than anybody has ever been hit before, ever. And we had good talks. We had very good talks, but they were rough, but they were strong, and it's what you had to do. But I said, don't do it. If you do it, we're going to hit you so hard. And he said, but Your Excellency, he called me Your Excellency, which was, I thought, very nice. I sort of like the sound. He said, Your Excellency, you must tell me why do you send me a picture of my house? And I said, well, you're going to have to figure that one out, Abdul. But we went 18 months without one American soldier being killed in Afghanistan. Very different from our Democrat-run cities where many, many people are killed in a week. In cities that are run by Democrats and badly run by Democrats. But we have a little thing I think we should tell you, because it's also depressing when you look at what's gone on. We rebuilt our military. Our military is great. We have great leaders. You hear all about the woke stuff, and I think a lot of our military laugh it off. But, you know, at some point it really gets in there and you become infected, and it's bad. But a quick story about our great U.S. military. We have a man named General Raisin Cain. Did you ever hear this story? Because I've given it a couple of times. I've told it a couple of times. But I wanted to go to Iraq, and I wanted to go to the various countries to see what was going on, because I heard all about ISIS. And I said, why aren't we getting ISIS? Why is ISIS allowed to roam free, and we're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars in the Middle East, and we don't seem to beat ISIS? General Mattis told me, sir, it'll take 3 years to get rid of them. And I said, General, that's not too good. How do you do that? They fight with knives, and we fight with the greatest weapons ever made. Ever made. We have the weaponry we have is the most incredible. I told you I rebuilt the military. Weapons we have are the greatest. Should have never given $85 billion of it to the, you know, I don't know if you know this, the Taliban. Afghanistan is just about the #1 seller of arms now, because they said they don't need 700,000 rifles. They don't need 70,000 trucks and cars. There's not a used car lot in the world, and you could multiply times 100 that would have 70,000 of anything. And we gave them 70,000 trucks. Many of them are armor-plated trucks, extremely cost millions of dollars to build these trucks individually. 70,000. We gave them night goggles, better than the ones we have, later models right out of the box. $85 billion. There's never been anything like it. So when you hear all these stories, you probably think we have a terrible military, but we don't. So what happened is I said, you know, I'm going to fly over to Iraq, and I'm going to meet with our soldiers while I was president. And we did that. We're in the plane. We're about an hour out, and they come to see me in Air Force One. Beautiful, beautiful plane. Air Force One, beautiful. I ordered new Air Force Ones. I got a much better price than the previous administration. You know that story. It's now a big topic, because now Boeing wants to get a discount because they said they're losing the shirt on the deal we made with Trump. It's okay. Don't do it. Don't do it. But we ordered new Air Force Ones at a much lower price, $1.6 billion less. I got $1.6 billion off the price. You believe it? And now Boeing is complaining. But I wanted to go over, and I wanted to find out about ISIS, so I get on the old Air Force One. You know, we needed new. They're 31 years old, if you can believe it. You know, Air Force One is actually 2 planes. It's 2 big 747s. So they were ordered. But we're on the plane flying over, and we're about an hour away from the big airfield that we're landing in Iraq. And I get a call, and then some military people came in to see me. You know, this is like a large home, Air Force One, very big. A lot of people on the plane, most talented people you've ever seen, including the pilots, the most incredible people. Sir, would you please do us a favor? We'd like to close all of your windows. I say, why? We don't want any light on the plane. I said, why is that? Because we don't want the enemy to see us. Think of it. We've been there for 20 years, and we can't fly an airplane into the country. I said, that's pretty sad. So they closed down all of the shades. Everything was absolutely dark. Then they said, sir, we're going to be turning off the lights in the plane. I said, what do you have to do that? We just closed all the shades and the windows. What do you have to do? Sir, we got to be dark. We don't want to get any light up there. I said, that's not good. But I love sitting with pilots, especially talented ones. And the most talented pilots in the world are the ones that fly Air Force One. And if you look at these guys, they're like central casting. They look like Tom Cruise, but better. Okay? They do. Crew cuts. So I said, well, this is interesting because, you know, we don't have any lights. I said, how the hell do I get to the pilots? I can't see. They said, follow us, sir. We go through this dark hallway and upstairs, and I sit down, and even their cockpit lights are turned off. And I said, hello, Captain. Oh, sir, you got to see these people, I'm telling you. They could make movies. I could bring these guys out to Hollywood to be an agent. I'd make a lot of money for myself. I wouldn't make so much for them, but I'd make a lot for myself. Like many other agents. That's what agents do. They make money for themselves. But, you know, I say, Captain, how are we doing? Very good, sir. I said, very dark in this plane, Captain. Yes, sir. It's okay, sir. So when are we landing, Captain? Sir, we're landing in 5 minutes. I said, Captain, we're pretty low. I don't see any runway. I don't see anything. I'm looking out the window. It's dead black. There's no light, but we're over a desert. And he said, you're going to be fine, sir. No problem. So 3-4 minutes go by, and then they hear, I don't know if anybody flies, but you hear a sound from the computer. It's an incredible voice, but it's a computer voice. It goes 1,000. Now that means 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet is really low when you're in a big monster plane, right? 1,000 feet. Sounds high, it's not. So it goes 1,000, 900, 800, 700, 600, 500. I say, Captain, I don't see any runway, Captain. No problem, sir. I said, all right. I'm telling my wife, you know, I told my wife how brave I was when I got. Sort of like Lion Brian. Remember Lion Brian? He said he was brave, but, you know, the difference is he wasn't even shot at. How's his career going? I don't think too good. But Brian Williams, remember that mess? But so we're at 500 feet. I don't see anything. 400, 300, 200. I say, Captain, there's no runway out there. I'm telling you, Captain. I got very good eyes. Not like they used to be, but what is, right? He said, Captain, what the hell is going on here, Captain? No problem, sir. 100. Now we're 100 feet. That's like, I'll tell you what that's like, these lights. That's about 50. So we got a little double. That's very low. And the captain said, okay, sir, we're ready to land. I said, Captain, you want to pull up, Captain? And bottom line, boom, 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 perfect landing. We landed. I say, oh, the little pin lights, tiny, you can't even see them. He hit them dead on. These guys are the most talented, I'm telling you, the most talented people. I said, how did I do, Captain? Wasn't I brave? I didn't think you were going to land. I thought we were landing on set. He said, you're a brave man. In fact, as president, I wanted to give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor, but they wouldn't let me do it. They wouldn't let me do it. I said, I'm going to give myself I've always wanted that. But they wouldn't let me do that. They said that would be inappropriate. I said, okay. But what happened is we landed. It was an incredible. They really are talented people, the most incredible people. And I get off the plane, and I want to find out why we can't defeat ISIS. I get off this plane. It's very, very late. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, pitch black. I'm getting off, very few lights. And there's some soldiers down there, and there's a general, and then another general, and then a drill sergeant. And I said, look at these people. They're all like perfect people. You don't see people like this in the movie. The movies, they don't have people like this. These people are really amazing. So I'm walking down the stairs, and I meet one general, and then I meet another one. And I said, what's your name? He said, Kane, sir. Kane. I said, that's nice. What's your first name? Raisin, sir. I said, wait, did you just say your name is Raisin Kane? Yes, sir, I'm General Raisin Kane. I said, General, you're the guy I've been looking for. You're the guy I've been looking for. What a great guy. So then we go into the room. He said, sir, would you like to go to sleep for a while? And you had a long trip. You know, it's a long trip. And got a little scary at the end, right? He said, would you like to go and rest for a while? I think he's used to other presidents, if you want to know the truth. I said, no, let's go and have our meeting. It's okay, let's go right away, Raisin. So the general came in and the sergeant came in. The sergeant just, oh man, I could make a fortune with this guy. Perfect. Boom. I'd like to have a flat top like that. I don't think I have enough hair to pull it off. But he was great. And they were all sitting there, and they had some others, all central casting people. I said, so General Mattis, world's most overrated general, said to me, it would take 3 years to get rid of ISIS. I want to get rid of them faster. What do you think, General? And he said, we could do it very quickly, sir. It depends on what you want to do. I said, no, I want to get rid of them. I want to get rid of them fast, General, as fast as you can, but I've been told it takes 3 years. And why haven't you been able to do it? Well, sir, we take orders. We don't give. When somebody comes in from Washington, when they're our superior, we are not to question when they tell us how to do it. I said, did you agree with what they were doing? Because we've been fighting them for like 19 years now, right? No, sir, we never agreed with it, sir. But it's not our position to say what they should be doing. They walk in and they tell us how to do it. I say, well, if I gave you authority to do it, how long would it take you? We could do it, sir, in 3 weeks. I said, General Raisin Kane, tell me about that. I've been here in 3 years. What do you mean 3 weeks? Sir, we can do it in 3 weeks. We'll have time left over. I said, you gotta be kidding, Raisin. Explain it. And what did they do, and what would you do? Well, sir, they came over and they wanted to be politically correct, sir. And they wanted us just to hit from this base, where we are right now, big base. The problem is it's very far away from the people that you're after, very, very far away, sir. By the time we got over there, we had to come back to refuel. We couldn't spend any time. I said, so what would you do, Raisin? Sir, I'd hit them from here. But I'd hit them from there, and here, and there. We have bases all over the place, sir. They didn't want to use them because they didn't want to insult the country where the base was located. The country wouldn't even know, sir, what the hell we're doing or where we're going. Sir, I'd hit them from the left, and I'd hit them from the right, underneath, over the top. I'd hit them so hard they wouldn't know what was happening, sir. I said, and you have to understand, Mattis told me it would take 3 years. He kept telling me more and more. It got to be to a point it was ridiculous. So I said, so General, I want to think about this, but I've been told it's going to take a long time, and you're telling me 3 weeks. You have time left over, sir. So I said, all right, look, I'm going back to Washington. I got to think about this. Bottom line, I get back. I said, go get him. He hit them left and right, under and over. He hit them so hard. And I got a call 2 weeks later. They were just about gone, but many of them have formed an area, and they wanted permission to wipe everybody, just wipe them out. They said, you know, look, I did really well in real estate in New York City. I'm not like into this stuff, but I have a lot of common sense, and I understand what has to be done. And they said, are you ready, sir? I said, ready for what? We want to wipe them out, sir. They said, wipe them out. You know, I'm thinking about humans. I said, these are human beings. And he said, no, they're not, sir. These are animals. These are animals. We want to wipe them out, sir. I said, how about taking the planes and flying over them a couple of times, General Raisin Kane? He said, you're wasting fuel if you do that, sir. I said, do you think they'd surrender? They don't know what it is to surrender, sir. They're not going to surrender. I said, try it for a day or so. Fly the F-18s over their heads, and maybe you get them to surrender. They won't do it, sir, but we're going to do it, and we'll do it. I get a call back. They're not going to do any surrendering. He said, sir, they don't surrender. It's just the way it is. They don't know the word. They don't know what the word means. I said, what are you suggesting? He said, just let us do our job, sir. I said, do your job. And that was the end. 100% of ISIS gone. 100%. General Raisin Kane. And the reason I thought I'd tell you that story, and I think it's important, especially for you, because you're young, you'll be running the country for a long time, and you saw that catastrophe in Afghanistan where we didn't know what the hell we were doing, where we took the soldiers out. Think of it. We moved the soldiers. The people that Abdul was so afraid of, we removed them from Afghanistan. So now we have our hostages, or we have our equipment and everything left behind. We took the soldiers out first. Remember I told the story, I asked a 5-year-old child, if you were at war and you had the kind of threat, and I explained it, would you move the soldiers, Johnny? Out first or last? Oh, I'd move them out last. But our people, this is a 5-year-old child, our people took our soldiers out first, and then they went after us. They did a number. They used to come out of the woods, and they'd head to certain locations, and they'd see those F-18s, which now they own. They own those F-18s that they were so afraid of, and the planes and the helicopters. Best helicopters in the world, Apaches. Some of them brand new. They own them. We gave it to them, billions and billions. I think the only country that had more than them outside of us was Australia. Think of it. They had more than any other country other than Australia. The finest flying machine, the most incredible. I won't tell you what they call it, but it's not a nice name. It's a vicious name. And outside of Australia, they had more than any other country. Think of this. And Australia had paid billions and billions and billions of dollars. So I wanted to tell you the story because when you see in my opinion, the most humiliating day in the history of our country, that was to me the most humiliating day in the history of our country, the most humiliating time. Now, the media hardly played it up. They ended that story very quickly. And maybe this is one time when it's okay to have done that because it was the greatest humiliation our country has ever seen. And they didn't do it for that reason. They did it because they're trying to protect Biden and they're trying to protect the Democrats, and they don't want that to hurt him so badly. But I think that's when things really started going bad for this administration because nobody has ever witnessed anything like took place. Getting out of Afghanistan, we were going to do it with dignity and strength, and it would have been done very quickly on a very similar time scope. But what they did was the greatest humiliation in the history of our country. So I wanted to tell you the story about Raisin Kane. I wanted to tell you the story about those other great soldiers and how they can fight, and they're unbelievable. I'm not talking about Millie and the guys on television. I'm talking about the real guys that we have out there. They're unbelievable people. They're unbelievable fighters, and it's something you have to hear. And under our leadership, America was respected like never before. America was never more respected than it was 2 years ago. And not all of them liked me. Angela Merkel, she was okay with me, but you know, what I was doing, they took advantage of us for years and years. She said, the German people like Obama better. I said, they should. They should. Billions and billions of dollars. We were being ripped off by them like you've never seen. We had 52,000 soldiers in Germany, and we were building cities for our soldiers in Germany and all over Europe. And they didn't pay their bills. You know the story with NATO. After my first meeting, I looked, I said, hey, we're the only ones paying. There were 8 countries out of 28 that were paying. We were paying much more than we were supposed to, billions. We were carrying NATO. And I said, we can't have this. So the next time I went back, I said, either you're going to pay or I'm sorry, we're going to have to take off. One of the leaders actually asked at a very quiet meeting. I was always shocked that the press didn't get it. I don't think they ever reported it. But he stood up, he said, are you saying that if we don't pay and if we're attacked by Russia, was for the Soviet Union, but Russia? And if we're attacked by Russia, we didn't pay, that you will not come to our defense? I said, that's right. I will not come to your defense. I will not come. And the next day, money came pouring in. They were all delinquent. They weren't paying. Now, if I would have said, oh, no, of course we defend you, even though you're not paying. And they have a lot of money. They have a lot. A lot of those countries are very rich, actually. But billions and billions of dollars came pouring in, and ultimately we took in $430 billion, and that's why NATO is functioning now and able to do. But just one other thing, Ukraine would have never happened under the Trump administration, would have never have happened. Russia would have never done what they did. They would have, and they didn't. People say, even I saw that Chuck Todd, Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd, was saying recently, he said, Trump is perhaps the most consequential president. Now, he was talking about Roe v. Wade, most consequential president. I said, we also had a great decision on guns. We had a great decision on religious liberty. And we had a great decision on the environment, which they want to destroy our country with. But if you take a look at what was happening with our country, if you take a look at what was going down, we were being taken advantage of by Europe. Now, if you look at Ukraine now, we've so far given more than $60 billion to Ukraine. Well, the European countries, who are obviously far more affected than us, have given a tiny fraction of that number. So why is that? Because I know I could have gone over there and said, listen, you're going to put up the same money or more money than us, and they would have done it gladly. But we just give money out, and we don't, we have $35 trillion in debt. We have all of these problems, and we're handing money out. And honestly, that was something, because right now it's much tougher to solve, because I guess they have 35 times, Russia has 35 times the firepower, and they're looking to obliterate the weapons as we send them in. They're obliterating those weapons, and a lot of bad things are happening. But it's a much tougher deal to solve now than previous. But think of it. You had me 4 years as president. You never had a problem with this. Nobody even talked about it. Nobody even talked about it. And in all fairness to Chuck Todd, he said that. He was interviewing the Secretary of State. He said, how come this never happened as it was really heating up? How come this never happened under the Trump administration? And then I added something to that. How come North Korea, which is now doing things that they shouldn't be doing, but we didn't have a problem? Remember, Obama said we're going to end up in war with North Korea. We didn't have that. I got along great with Kim Jong-un. They said it was terrible that I got along great. It's terrible that he gets along with a man that has nuclear weapons, serious nuclear weapons. But we got along great. No problem with North Korea. We had no problem with Russia. We had no problem with China. China would have never even thought about taking over Taiwan during the Trump administration, would have never thought, because they knew the consequences. And maybe the worst is going to be Iran, because Iran very shortly is going to have a nuclear weapon that they never, ever would have had. They were ready to make a deal. They would have made a deal within 1 week after the election if it wasn't rigged and stolen. They would have made a deal within 1 week of the election. They were ready. And now you read the papers, they have all of the enriched material they need. They can have nuclear weapons in a very short period of time. I'm talking about a matter of months or less. They might even have one now. And once they have, the game is a whole different game. It's a horrible thing that's happened to our country. Our country has never been in a position like this. The election was stolen, it was rigged, and now our country is being destroyed, systematically destroyed. I ran twice, I won twice, and did much better the second time than I did the first, getting millions and millions more votes than we did in 2016, and likewise getting more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country by far. And now we may just have to do it again. Thank you very much. Given Joe Biden's atrocious record, it is no wonder that young people are deserting them, and the Democrats, they're deserting them in droves. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Not only young people, by the way, Hispanics. Look at the Hispanic population. African Americans, Asian Americans, not only young people. Joe Biden's approval rating among young adults has now gone down to, they think, less than 20%. He's in the teens, and this is something that the Democrats have long dominated because their extreme ideology has nothing to offer for the next generation. The radical left is the past. Our movement, Make America Great Again, America First, our movement is the future. It is the future. So this evening, I want to talk about, just for a little while, some of the really big issues. And we'll talk about it because we want to get you home. And I want to get home, too. I'm doing this for Charlie Kirk. I want to get the hell home because much of this you probably heard from every speaker. You're going to do this, you're going to do that, so you don't have to hear it again. But some of the points is that in your communities, if we're going to save our country, we have to be smart. First, we have to defeat the climate crisis hoax. It's a hoax. It doesn't have the power. It doesn't have the power to generate and move our factories. It doesn't have the power. And I predicted, because this gentleman has this beautiful sign, Trump was right. Let me tell you, I predicted Germany 3 years ago, remember? I said Germany's going to destroy their economy because they decided to get rid of their nuclear, their coal, and they were going to all wind. You know, wind. When it doesn't blow, don't worry about it, darling. We just won't watch television. And solar. It's fine, but it doesn't move the needle. It can't fire up those big, massive factories. It just can't do it. And we have to go, and we have to be smart. And I said that Germany's going to be in big trouble. And I said, let them do it, because they're a competitor. And you know what happened? That happened. Because now they're going to coal, they're going to nuclear, and they're begging Russia. When they made the deal, they were going to get 72% of their energy from Russia. I said, take a look at the last 100 years. You're not doing a smart thing. I tried to talk them out of it. Now they're saying, remember they laughed at the United Nations when I made the speech and I said it? And these German guys, and I have a little German in my blood, I will tell you. They were laughing. They thought it was so funny, so cute, that I was saying this, he's so funny. And it turned out to be right because, and nobody knew it would happen that soon. But I said, this is going to end very badly for Germany, very, very badly. This week, the White House has even threatened to declare a national emergency on what's going on. You know, they used to call it, remember, global warming. But then that didn't work. They had many different names. Now their great name is climate change. If it's too hot, like now it's hot, they say climate change. If it's freezing, if in August it turns out that you're at 15 degrees in this incredible state, then they're going to say climate change. You can never go wrong. It took them about 10 years to get that right. Remember, they came up with all the different things. They used to say, you know, in the 1920s, they were worried about global freezing. They thought the world was going to freeze. Now it's global warming, but now it's climate change because you can't miss with climate change. Anything can happen. It's raining like hell. Climate change. We got it this way. It rained today in Florida. It's raining. Oh, it's never rained like this. And then you take a look. The hurricanes are horrible this year, but the worst hurricanes that the state ever had were in 1888. They wiped out the state. So it's we're really in a different, you know, I ask myself, I wonder if they really mean it. They're smart people. I wonder if they really mean it, or do they just hate our country? Because it's not believable they can think open borders are great, that they can think defending and, people that we shouldn't be defending that are destroying us, let's take care of them, let's not do anything to them, or defunding our police, that defunding our police is a great thing, or we don't want voter ID. By the way, we have to go back to paper ballots, and we have to go back to same-day voting, paper ballots. But the climate crisis hoax is even risking famine and starvation. As we speak, farmers in the Netherlands, of all places, are courageously opposing the climate tyranny of the Dutch government. Can you believe this? Which wants to dramatically cut Dutch farm production despite growing food shortage. They're saying you can't farm your land. We're not going to give you fertilizer. You have to get rid of the cattle. You know why, right? You know why? I won't tell you, because they'll say, I said something, isn't that terrible? They want to get rid of the cattle because what it does to the globe. Half of your cattle they want out. You'll be next. In our movement, we stand against the climate fanatics. We stand with the peaceful Dutch farmers who are bravely fighting for their freedom. It's horrible what's happening. Next, we need young conservative activists to help finally and completely smash the radical left's corrupt education establishment. The current educational system is so sick that school prayer is banned and drag shows are allowed and all sorts of things are happening. It's horrible. And we have some great politicians in this country that are fighting it very hard, and we love them. You can't teach the Bible, but you can teach children that America is evil and that men can get pregnant. A man can get pregnant. Can't even talk about the Bible. You would not trust these people to babysit your children for 20 minutes. And why should we then let them educate millions of American students 6 hours a day, year after year after year? Whatever it takes, the conservative movement must liberate America's children from the captivity of these Marxist teachers' unions. What they're doing to our children and to our country is incredible. Incredible. This is a matter of national survival. If we don't fix this, our country is going to be in a very sad state. It already is. Our country's never been in a position like this before. Happened all in a short period of time. Across the United States, we need to implement strict prohibitions on teaching inappropriate racial, sexual, and political material to America's children in any form. We will also keep men out of women's sports. Is that okay? Can you believe that? Keep men out of women's sports. Think about it. Now, I've told the story a number of times. You know, the swimmer with a man's body. You know, they say that. They describe it that way. They say, he's on the swim team. He was given Women Athlete of the Year. So, you didn't hear. I guess the Collegiate Sports Society of the world gave him Female Athlete of the Year. He broke the records by numbers that nobody's ever seen before. But how about the young lady? She's a great swimmer. She's going to break that record, right? You know this story. A couple of weeks. She's going to break that record. I'm going to swim. I've worked so hard. I've worked my whole life for this. I got a chance. She was looking to break it by 1/8 of a second, and she was going to do it. And she was up there on the podium a month ago. And she was standing there. She's ready to go. She gets down. She goes into whatever the hell they call it, the starting gate, whatever they call it in swimming. And she's standing on that gate. She's ready to break. And she looks down to the left. And she sees people that she's been competing with for a long time because, you know, the cream sort of rises to the top in sports and in lots of other things, doesn't it? Other than politics, I would say it rises to the top. So she looks to the left and she sees all these great athletes, and she looks to the right, she sees them, and then she goes, whoa, look at this guy. He had a wingspan. He had shoulders like this. And she said, wow, I don't know what's going on here. And as you know, she was seriously injured that day because during the race he went by her so fast that she got windburn, horrible, horrible windburn. And he broke the record by not 1/8 of a second, but by 38 seconds. I think that's a record that should hold for a long time in women's sports. He broke the record. They couldn't even cover him with the camera. He was going so fast, they got mixed up. They say he can't really be 2 laps ahead, can he? He is. He's 2 laps ahead. But the best is the weightlifter. A woman, I think it was like 216 pounds. That's a lot of weight to lift over your head. I don't think I could do it. Let me say, I could do much more than that. No, I couldn't do it. I don't want to admit it, but I couldn't do it. But it's like 18 pounds, something like that. Certain weight category. And she was going to do it. She was going to break the record. And she got ready, and they put 1/8 of an ounce on one side, little ring, and 8 big barbells. 1/8 of an ounce on the other. They had this, and if she gets this up, she broke the all-time record. And she went down. She's great shape, great woman, the best. And she lifted, got it up. She's doing like Biden does when he speaks. She was gonna break the record. I got it, Mom, I got it. Couldn't do it, dropped it. And then her competitor came in, had a man's body. He said, have you lifted before? No, not too much. And he bends down. Boom. The winner of the gold medal is Irving Schwartz. Now, it's not politically correct to do what I just did. It really isn't. People are not allowed to talk about it because our country is so sick and our country has become so stupid. But it is actually not allowed. And in fact, the young woman who took the brunt of what we were saying on the swim team, she's afraid to talk about it because they get shunned from society, cancel culture, whatever you want to call it. It's politically not correct to tell stories like I just told, but there are hundreds of those stories. In fact, if I were a basketball coach of a women's team, I would never, ever lose. I'd be the greatest coach of all time. I'm not a fan of LeBron James at all, but I would go to him. No, I don't like him, but I'd say, LeBron, did you ever think of becoming a woman? Did you ever? Because I'd like to have you on my team. I'd love to have you on our team, LeBron. But think of it. It's so crazy what's happening. So whether it's politically correct, maybe it isn't, I don't really care. I don't really care. I think it's so disrespectful. I think it's so disrespectful to women that they should never, ever let this happen. But this should have never been allowed to have happened. Like Russia should have never been allowed to happen with Ukraine, and it wouldn't have happened. This should never have been allowed to happen. And it's very, very, you talk about women's rights, this is the opposite of women's rights. This is a horrible thing, and they're not allowed to even talk about it, but I'll talk about it. The next critical fight we need is for your energy to be put behind the battle to restore free speech in America. There is no such thing as a democracy that does not have free speech. We don't have free speech anymore. We have cancel culture. We have fake news media that reports certain news incorrectly. And if it's positive about the other side, they make it much better. And if it's bad about the other side, they won't even report it. We saw that in the election, where they wouldn't report bad news about the other side. It's a disgrace. The media has taken a place in our culture, in our history, that nobody ever thought would be possible. They are no longer respected. They are just, they've become terrible, biased, partisan, because they're partners. Actually, they're really partners if you look at it with the Democrats. They get their marching orders, or they give the Democrats the marching orders. It could be that also. Nobody really knows, but it's so bad for our country, because they used to be like the police for honesty, and now they have no credibility whatsoever. If debate can be silenced, if dissent can be suppressed, if conservative ideas can be systematically shut down, then very simply, we do not have a free country anymore. That's what happens. That's what happened with communism in various countries. That's what happened with Venezuela. I don't know, some of you have been with me for a long time, and do you remember I used to talk about if this, a long time ago during the first campaign, I talked about if this is allowed to happen, we will be Venezuela on steroids. You remember I used to use it all the time, and everybody used to laugh. Well, that's where we're headed, the way it's going right now. What they do to political speech, what they do to their political opponents is breathtaking. Never happened to this extent ever before. The next Congress and the next president have a civic duty to be ruthless in going after this new censorship regime. We have to. Because if we do not destroy censorship, censorship will destroy America. Will destroy America. Our country will rot from the corruption, confusion, and distrust as we were, just the same as if we were a third world nation. Right now, in many ways, we are a third world nation. When you look at the decisions that are being made, when you look at the borders and you look at all of the things that are happening to our country, we were like a third world nation, and probably in some ways we're worse than a third world nation. As soon as we have the power, Congress should immediately launch a full-scale investigation into the rise of totally anti-American practice. They want it to be anti-American. That's what happened in the military, and I ended it. I ended that all in the military, but in one day I did it through executive orders. We got rid of all of these people that were teaching horrible things to our soldiers and our military leaders, and I ended it all. First day in office, Biden put them all back. And that's what we have right now. That's why the military can't even recruit. You saw the story this week. The military can't recruit anybody. Nobody wants to go in. There are tens of thousands of people behind. We should expose exactly what they're doing, and we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our country. We have to look at who they're silencing and who is funding it and who is doing this, who is coordinating all of this horrible stuff going on. Look at what happened. And we should use every power at our disposal to stop the war on free speech. If we don't do that, we just literally, between borders and elections and free speech, we're not going to have a country left anymore. Finally, our movement needs young people to help push back on woke corporations and their cowardly surrender to the radical left. And they don't believe it, but they're afraid, because the radical left attacks those corporations by putting boycotts on them. And for some reason, Republicans and the right, they don't do that. They don't really do that. And I guess they're probably wrong. Who would think that you have to do that? The only way to stop this extremism and get radical politics out of corporate boardrooms and human resource departments is if we do to the left exactly what the left does to us. That's what we have to do. We just don't have the people that want to do that. You have the Mitt Romneys, you have the Lisa Murkowskis, the Susan Collinses. You have people that, look at this Liz Cheney. Is she unhinged? Let's use the word unhinged, a horrible word that they like to use a lot of times, but I watched her the other day. And by the way, I think she's 35 points down. The great state of Wyoming is great. They get her. They've understood her for a long time. Her with the endless wars, the wars that never stop so that the corporations can keep selling missiles. We need to boycott woke corporations just like the radical left boycotts us. That's exactly what we have to do. and they'll be back in about 2 minutes. Remember, there are more of us than there are of them, and I totally believe that. And you're seeing it now with young Republicans and young conservatives. These are just a few of the many areas where our movement needs your passion, your brilliance, your fire, and your spirit. You have unbelievable spirit. Across the country, we need young people like you to get involved, speak up, join campaigns, run for office, and help us reclaim America. We have to reclaim America. The issues we have discussed today are just beginning. There is so much to be done. If we are going to save our country, we have to get to work immediately. We have to stop the radical Democrat socialist spending spree and stop runaway inflation. It's going to eat everybody alive. We haven't seen anything yet. We have to abolish all COVID mandates and lockdowns, rehire every patriot who was shamefully fired from the military with an apology. We have to give them an apology and all of their back pay. And we have to end the invasion. And that's what it is. It's an invasion, just like a military invasion. This is an invasion taking place on our southern border by re-implementing the entire Trump border security agenda. We had it done. It was the best in the history of our country. All he had to do is go to the beach. Go to the beach, Joe. The border was never in stronger shape. Just leave it alone. Those people are incredible, by the way. The Border Patrol. Brandon Judd. Tom Homan, what a guy he is. All of the guys, I mean, they're great. The people of ICE, what they are, these are tough patriots. They take MS-13 and they'll run into a nest. These are people that are rough, tough people, and they love knives. And they'll run in there and they'll do what they have to do, and they'll get them the hell out of our country. And I know a lot of the people right here in the first 3 rows, and some of them, a couple of these guys are very tough. They wouldn't do it. I guarantee you that. They wouldn't want to do it. It's dangerous stuff. They're great patriots. ICE, Border Patrol, our police have been treated so badly. Congressional Republicans need to be laying the groundwork for this now. They need to stand and fight and demand that real border security be included in the spending bill this September. And the Republicans, guys like Jim Jordan and Jim Banks and so many others, they're so good. As we secure our border, we also have to combat the brutal wave of violent crime in Democrat-run cities, starting with a massive increase in the number of police officers. The one thing I might do different is, because we did what we did for this country with the biggest tax cuts ever, with the military rebuilding, with all of the different things, and defeating 100% of the ISIS caliphate. I didn't say that when I told the story. The end result, 100% of the caliphate. But all of the things we did with the military, rebuilding it, everything, we need a campaign where people start talking about greatness again for our country. Because we never talk. Do you ever turn on the news? We're talking about making our country great. We're going to build factories here. You know, in World War II, we produced almost 1 ship a day. Do you think we could do that today? 1 ship a day. Our steel industry, if I didn't come along your steel industry, you wouldn't have a steel industry. You'd have a war against China, and you'd have to go to China to have the steel made, okay? It's just terrible what's happened to our country. We think of it, what we did in World War II. I saw something the other night. I love watching the old movies, black and white. I love watching the old documentaries. And they said 238 bombers fly over what country? I don't want to say it. But you look up and you see pictures, old pictures from the 1940s, and you had these big, massive bombers, 248. Another one was 315 attacking. And I'm looking and I'm saying, boy, look at that. I don't know, do we have the capability of doing this anymore? Think of it, 248 bombers. And you see what happened, and we ended World War II. But, you know, now it works differently. We don't talk about greatness anymore. We talk about discrimination. We talk about global warming. We talk about hundreds of different things. We talk about Russia, Russia, Russia. Trump turned out to be a fake story. We talk about all things, but we never talk about greatness anymore. Our country has to be great again. We're not going to have a country very long. So we have to hold and finishing up China accountable for unleashing the virus upon the world. What they did is unbelievable. And now they're even suffering. Came back to bite them, didn't it? We need to use tariffs to protect American workers and American jobs, and we should not let the tariffs go from China. And, of course, we need to pass landmark election integrity reforms, including universal voter ID, citizenship. Think of this one. Citizenship confirmation. The Democrats don't want that. They don't want to know whether or not you're a citizen. What do you think that's all about? Do you think that has something to do with cheating? No more fake drop boxes. You know, you're going to be donors very soon. You probably are, a lot of you right now. If you give, as a family, a husband and wife, more than $5,600 to a candidate running for office, they put you in jail. But Zuckerberg, who used to come to the White House to see me, he was so nice. Oh, I have such respect for you, President. You're number one on Facebook. He told me I'm number one on Facebook. I said, thank you very much. I appreciate it. He used to come to the White House. So if you give $5,600 plus 10 cents to Irving Jones, who's running as a Republican from Iowa, they put you in jail because you gave too much. But Zuckerberg is allowed to give $417 million, mostly to Democrat areas. The only Republican areas are just to make it look a little bit better. What a disgrace this last election was. No private money pouring into local elections. We can't have it. And ultimately, as I said before, and I say it again and again, it's so simple. France just had an election, all paper ballots, and it all took place in one day. Have you ever had anything to do with Russia? Russia? No, I'm not really too familiar with what you mean. No. Then this went on endlessly, like 4 or 5 times. After the 5th time, I said, what the hell is going on with Russia? It was a fairy tale. And now we have the same thing with this unselect committee of political thugs, January 6th. And I watch the very same people who perpetrated the lies that I was an agent of Russia. Think of me as an agent. I'm a rich guy. I don't need whatever the hell it's. I'm going to be an agent of Russia. I love our country. That's why I did this. Forbes just came out. They said the only president and politician ever to go down in net worth during his office was Donald Trump. I'm proud of that. I didn't take my salary. It's $400,000. I didn't take my salary. And much more importantly, they say I went down by $600 million, and I knew I would because I didn't do deals. I could have made deals. Oh, I could have made the greatest deal sitting behind the Oval Office. But I didn't think it was appropriate, and we didn't do it. We didn't do it. They said that, and, you know, I thought it was a very good, nice story. I lost, they say $600 million. I would say more than that, but I don't need money. It's lucky. But I did a legitimate job representing the people of this country. But I had people to deal with, like Shifty Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff, smart guy. He's a whack job, looks like a watermelon head, right? The shape is perfect. And he's very angry. He hates Biden because Biden didn't give him a job. They thought they were going to take him out of Congress and give him a big job, but they didn't do it. But he's a smart guy. He's a vicious guy, horrible liar, must hate our country. But think of it. Hillary Clinton, Adam Schiff, and a small group of them made up the Russia story, right? They made it up. And now it's come out. And by the way, Durham has done a very good job of that. I'd like to see him go a little faster, but he did a good job of that. But it was a made-up hoax, and now today, yesterday, the New York Times admitted it. Washington Post has already admitted it. And by the way, they should give back their Pulitzer Prizes for reporting on the Russia hoax. Maybe we'll sue Pulitzer organization, because that's another one. How the hell do you get a Pulitzer Prize and you were wrong? But think of this story. So they make up, do you have a couple of minutes, by the way? Yes, good. So think it, because I haven't seen anybody leaving yet. I have gone so off script, and all those speeches are my best speeches. That's one thing you can't say about Joe Biden. If he goes off script, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. But think about this. Think about this. Think about this, how vicious these people are. I see Adam Schiff for years now come to the microphone, and, you know, he acts so, oh, it's so solemn, it's so sad, our country, I love our country. He comes up to the microphone, and he goes, this is during the Russia hoax. And he goes, Donald Trump Jr., who you just heard speak, and he's a great young guy, and he loves our country. He loves our country. I don't even know why the hell he does this, but he loves our country. Donald Trump Jr. will be going to jail because of what he's done with Russia. He didn't do anything. He had to testify because of Burr, a weak, pathetic guy who looks like he made money. I don't know, I guess inside trading. Didn't he go out and buy all sorts of rubber outfits? He got rid of his stock because he heard about, I don't know, but Richard Burr from North Carolina, terrible guy, terrible senator, and he allowed this to happen. But think, Schiff knows the story. He knows the story, and it's all made up, and he knows it's phony. He made it up with crooked Hillary Clinton, the DNC, the Democrats, and the sleazebag writer from Great Britain, Jonathan Steele. He made it up. He made up the story. It's all fiction. He knows it. And he gets up and he says, Donald Trump Jr., the son of the president, will be going to jail. Now think of this, just to get off it, but what kind of scum knows a story is false and he wants to put somebody's son in prison? Okay? How bad is a person like that? And now I see the same guy and others But the same group get up before the microphones and talk about January 6th. It's a disgrace what's happening to our country. And that's all we talk about are these things. We don't talk about what we should be. And you say, where does it stop? Where does it all end? And it probably doesn't stop because despite the great outside dangers, our biggest threat remains the sick and sinister and very evil people from within our country. Guys like Schiff and people like crazy Nancy Pelosi. She's nuts, I'm telling you. She's a nut job. I mean, you talk about people in politics. Look at her husband. Every time something happens, he goes out and he buys stuff. He's made a lot of money. He made $100 million. She started off with nothing. And she does have a big wall around her house, by the way, even though she fought us like crazy on the wall. But she's crazy. She's nuts. I'm telling you, she's a psycho. Never forget everything I mean, how can they allow a person to make all that money and the press barely wants to cover it? It's called inside trading, insider trading. Everything this corrupt establishment is doing to me is all about preserving their power and control over the American people. They're sick. They want to damage me in any form so I can no longer represent you. Obviously, they want me not to be the candidate because they never talk about anybody else. And, you know, everything's disinformation. We have a great candidate in Pennsylvania, and he's running against an absolute loser named Shapiro and Doug Mastriano. And they say, oh, we want Mastriano to win. Well, they know he's going to win. I endorsed him. They know he's going to win. So everything about them is disinformation. So they say, we want Mastriano. Well, the one person they don't want to run against is me. And all they have to do is look at the second election where I did so much better than I did in the first election. Take a real look at it, at the real numbers. So the fake news media is totally complicit in this whole deal. And if I renounced my beliefs, if I agreed to stay silent, if I stayed home, if I announced that I was not going to run for office, the persecution of Donald Trump would immediately stop. We know that. Everybody knows that. But that's what they want me to do. And you know what? There's no chance I do that. There's just no chance I do that. I can't do that. Because thank you very much. Because I love you and I love this country. We can't let this happen. They're coming after me because I am standing up for you. That's why they're coming after me, and because you're a force. And remember this, in the history of our country, there has never, ever been a movement like we are all proud to be a part of. MAGA. Make America Great Again. MAGA. You know, I took out a hat. It said, Keep America Great. I was going to maybe go into Keep America, because we had made America great. And now I realize that hat is so obsolete because America is not great anymore. We have to make it great again, but it's not great anymore. Sad to say, hard to say. I'm not doing this for me because I had a very good and luxurious life before deciding to enter the wonderful world of politics. I'm doing it for you, and it's my honor to do it. Because if I don't, our nation is doomed to become another Venezuela or become another Soviet Union, to become a large-scale version of Cuba, where all is lost and where there is absolutely no hope. No hope. No matter how big or powerful these corrupt radicals may be, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. It's your God-given right. As grave as our challenges are, as great as the threats appear, all you have to do to rekindle your hope in our future is to look around this room, the incredible people in this room, at the thousands of proud young American patriots with spines of steel and hearts full of faith and love. You have love. You're tough and you're strong, but you have love. The spirit of your generation is the same fierce independence, the same unbounded confidence, the same unyielding tenacity, and the same righteous determination that America has always surrounded itself with and summoned when there was a problem. And we've had many problems. From the grim December of 1776 to the epic struggle at Gettysburg. So horrible at times, so vicious, so many deaths. From the perils of the Oregon Trail to the battles with Soviet communism, the story of our nation is filled with bold young Americans who poured out their blood, sweat, and soul to make America into the greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 49 years, and where the stock market just finished the worst first half of the year since 1872. Likewise, we are a nation that has the highest energy costs in its history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant as we were just 2 short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and others. We're begging them for oil. Please, please, please help us, he says. Yet we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country anywhere in the world. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal, yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal will lead to our destruction. We're a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world. We are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would have never happened with me as your commander-in-chief, and for 4 long years, it didn't happen. We are a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against the opposing political party, perhaps like never before. We are a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they are truly the enemy of the people. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed, where crime is rampant like never before, where the economy has been collapsing, where more people died of COVID in 2021 than died of COVID in 2020. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon, which they will incredibly be allowed to bring forward very, very soon. And right now, China is using the trillions of dollars it has taken from us over many, many years to build a military that will outrival our own. And just 2 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knew it, because you know what? They respected your leader and they respected our country. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer respected or listened to around the world. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. And we are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom, and to faith. We are a nation whose economy is floundering, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the bottom of virtually every single list. But we are not going to let this continue. 2 years ago, we had the greatest military, we had the greatest economy, we had the greatest feeling of any nation ever before in world history. We were a great nation. We were respected by everybody. And soon we will be again. It has always been the case that right when the situation looks the bleakest for America, that's when America digs in, fights back, and begins its incredible comeback. And standing before you tonight, I believe our nation is ready for a comeback like no one has ever seen before. And just like with all the other crossroads of our history, I have no doubt that it will be young, courageous, freedom-loving patriots of America like you who will once again lead the way to greatness. I believe that. We will stand up to the radical left lunatics, and we will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. There is no mountain we cannot climb. There is no summit we cannot reach. There is no challenge we cannot meet. There is no victory we cannot have. We will not bend. We will not break. We will not yield. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never, ever, ever back down. As long as we are confident and united, the tyrants we are fighting do not stand a chance, because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God and God alone. My fellow young citizens, that's what you are. You're young people. You're great young people. This incredible journey we are on together has only just begun, and it's time to start talking about greatness for our country again. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious American nation. So with the help of everyone here today, and it's been my great honor to be with you, our citizens all across the land, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.